Hello, everyone. This is Criminal Profiler Pat Brown, and this is Patron Hangout number 196. And welcome everybody who's in the chat room. I'm so glad you're there because I'm having technical problems yet again. And somebody said, why don't you get somebody to help you with the technical problems? Let me tell you something. Even if I got those people, they'd have the same technical problems. People think that when you can't manage something, it's because you don't know how to. But they do not realize that what happens is things change. StreamYard just changed all its overlays and is completely screwed. You know, they made something better and made it worse. So all of a sudden I'm like, what the heck? Things happen. And the advantage of not doing live shows is that you can edit everything, redo everything, and you look like you're brilliant. So, and I don't look so brilliant, but anyway, welcome everybody who's here. Oh my goodness. So as long as you can see and hear me, yeah, thank you, Harper. That's the important thing. All right. Now, I have so much to talk about today. And it's kind of funny because sometimes I think I come to these and I'm like, hey, what are your requests? And am I going to have enough for a show? And I always have too much. And then I say, well, I'll do the rest next week. So same here. So if you ask me for something and I'm not doing it today, it's because I'm going to be doing it next week. But I want to start with, because everybody always does ask, and it gets rid of people who have no patience. So I do the Mac the cat story. So here's Mac. So this is Mac. This is kind of interesting because he's sitting on my floor of my bedroom nonchalantly. Of course, he always has his eyes like this because he won't look at me, right? And what happens is, I want to show you how this works. So at night, he comes in. Now, he comes in, and usually it's somewhere between 7 and midnight, somewhere in there. He comes into the bedroom, and I have everything prepared for him, but I'm going to show you how I prepare it for him. So this is his, if I can do this, his food bundle. Now, you'll see in the big bowl, there is dry food and wet food. I put a half a can of wet food and then dry food in there. You'll see this extra dry food bowl, this dry food cup. And then there are, I don't know if you can see it here. At the bottom, you'll see that this is the fancy stuff that I squeeze and put on my hand, so he'll have to actually lick my hand. Okay, so this is what if you wonder why is it in a bag? Well, because if I put it on the floor of my bedroom and I'm like doing something, I'm doing my research and stuff, turned away from the door, he'll just come in and eat the crap and leave. And the whole point of it is for him to have to deal with me for the most part. Occasionally when I'm not around, I just leave him food out. But I want him to have to come and deal with me. I want him to have to lick the food off my hand. I want him to stand in my lap and eat from the bowl so he can get used to me. So that's a little setup I have. So I wasn't paying attention. This is why I have it in the bag. And so I was doing work, and he was just sitting there on the floor going, and when are you going to open up the plastic bag and come down here and sit on the floor and feed me? So he did wait patiently. And then I said, oh my God, there you are. And so I did get out of bed, and he lets me do that now. And I sit on the floor and I feed him. And the other day it was kind of funny because he came in really early. I'm like, it was still daylight. It was like 5 o'clock. I'm like, what are you doing here? And he was underneath my dining table. And I'm like, dude, I haven't even got the food out. I said, would you let me get the food? And so I walked over, picked up his bowl, came back, filled it up, put it out on the carpet and said, go ahead. And then went back to the kitchen and continued cooking. And he went out and ate the food. And it makes me laugh because the cat door is in the kitchen. So Mac, if I wanted to capture you, you just screwed up because I could just go close the cat door and you would be mine forever. But I won't do that because I don't want to do that to a feral cat. I want him to have his freedom. And also I don't like litter boxes. So that is the way I work it. Oh my gosh. That's how I deal with them. Oh my God. How much am I spending on cat food? You need to, I want to say this, Lynn, I've had some wonderful patrons who have sent me money to feed Mac. And it's really, really kind because yes, he's for a cat I only see for like 10 minutes a day. It's kind of worthless. You know what I mean? It's a lot of money, especially for that fancy crap, because it costs you get like 70 70 little packets, but it costs like $50. And then I'll have to buy the wet food, and then I have to buy the dry food. It is expensive. So I appreciate every patron who has helped me out in supporting Mac the cat, who, as I say, spends about 10 minutes in my house, 15 at the most. And it's been a year and a half that I've been working to see if this feral cat will become my friend. And I'm just doing it because all of you know that I was going to go to Rwanda and meet with Diane Fossey when I was young, and I was young, like, a few years ago. And I was going to hang out and do the gorilla thing. And I never got there, and then she got chopped up. So maybe it was a good thing. But anyway, I always wanted to do that because I was in anthropology in it. And I never got to do that. So I do love watching animals. So this is my replacement, Diane Fossey. Not quite a gorilla, but it is interesting. It's been fascinating to watch his behaviors. And I appreciate everybody who supported me in that, because he is an expensive cat for not being my cat. No es mi gato. Anyway. Oh my God. Sarah says, can you redeliver your cat speech in Doug Carter's press conference? Oh my God. I know you're out there. You're out there and you're using me. You're eating my food. I see you. You can't hide. I know who you are. That was the worst imitation of Doug Carter ever. Oh my God. Wait until Mac brings his girlfriend. I don't think so. I mean, hi, Cheryl. Yeah, Matt is definitely a tomcat. I don't know how old he is. He's definitely not a baby. He's a 100% feral cat who's probably lived on the farm area here in the barns, born there. And that's why people, when they say, oh, well, he'll just get really friendly real quick. No. If it get real friendly real quick, they were never feral. They were a stray cat who once was hanging around humans and got dumped. He's 100% feral. But he does now walk onto my lap and eat my food. And he's like right here eating food. But if I look at him, it's just fascinating. It's fascinating. But cats hate closed doors anyway. They do. I've had many cats in my lifetime, and every single one of my cats has been an outdoor cat. And I know some people are against that. They're like, well, they're going to kill the birds. What? Sure. And they might get hit by a car. Mine never did. And they might get some kind of disease. I didn't ever see that happen. Most of my cats live way longer than anybody who had indoor cats, because it's a healthier lifestyle. So they live 15, 17, 20 years. I've lived really long. All of my cats have lived long lives, in spite of the fact they were always able to go outside. And I just hate litter boxes, and I don't want to deal with that crap. And I didn't want cats that were constantly upset that they couldn't get out. So all of my cats for all of my life have been outdoor cats. And I'm not going to make this feral an indoor cat. I mean, he gets to be a feral cat as long as he can be a feral cat. Pat's mind is a work of art. Okay. It could be that kind of art where you have a banana on the wall stuck there with some tape, and it's worth $1,000. Anyway, okay, let me get on to the stuff now. I do want to point this out, just because this made me laugh. So this was put out by Colin Sutton, who's one of my favorite people in the world. Colin Sutton is one of the few people. Colin Sutton. He refused to work on the Madeleine McCann case because of the remit. And he said, I'm not going to do that because there's a remit, and the remit is nonsense. And I have to be able to analyze the case from the beginning, all the evidence, or I'm not going to do it. And so he didn't. Respect to the nth degree, because it's very difficult when you have working with law enforcement. You're involved with high level agencies, and you're willing to stand up for that. Shocking, absolutely shocking. But he put this on his channel, and it just made me laugh, because my daughter is, she's just hit her 20 years. She can retire, but she's hanging in longer. And being a police officer, what is it like? She's a detective. I've been a detective for the last 10 years. That's her. And she's worked in domestic. She's worked in child abuse. She's worked in sex crime. She's worked in homicide. And I want to ask you again, because people don't get this right. The four of them: domestic abuse, child abuse, sex crimes, and homicide. Which do you think is the hardest detective work to do of those four? Let's see if anybody gets that. Okay. I'm going to start reading this to you. Okay. Sarah says sex crimes, child abuse. Okay. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. We have sex crimes here. That's what's, wait a minute. Sorry. I'm trying. Things are flying by, so I have to click on them quickly. So Sarah said sex crimes. And UK World Watcher said child abuse. And Sarah says sex crimes. Oh, thank you very much. She's a good daughter, and she was a fantastic police officer, and is still, because she's still working, even though she could retire. This is correct, child abuse. That is the hardest thing in the world. When my daughter went to homicide and I asked how she was doing with that, she says, way easier than child abuse, because most of the people that got killed in homicide were like, yeah, okay, you're dealing drugs. Not that I'm making light of that, but there's certainly some people that when they were killed, it did affect my daughter, and it was heartbreaking, because the same reason there's heartbreaking crimes that we deal with here, just talking about it. Sex crimes, yeah, that's hard when you have a true victim of a sex crime. A lot of times, some of those sex crimes aren't really sex crimes. They're certain people who claim to have been sexually assaulted who have not. So it's a real weird mix there. Child abuse is the killer, because when a child is abused, a child is abused. And the hardest thing about it is you have to interview the child, hear the story, and you sometimes have to watch videotapes of children being physically and sexually abused. That has had such an impact on my daughter. That's the PTSD that I don't think she'll ever get over, which is why she says when she's at home, she don't want to hear about crime. She don't want to hear about police stuff. She don't want to hear about my cases. She wants to watch Walt Disney. And that has been a rule we've had for years, because she's had to deal with way more than I've ever had to deal with. So I just great respect for her for having to deal with that. It's just exactly, child sex abuse is part of that. And that's what I'm saying. That is the absolute worst thing. Watching videos of that, because we hear about videos of children being sexually abused, pedophiles type of stuff, and child sex, pedophile rings and stuff. We don't realize, and I don't think enough people know, that there are people who have to watch that who are not pedophiles. There are detectives, prosecutors, and sometimes, horrifyingly, jurors. They have to watch this kind of stuff, and it'll never leave your head. It will never leave your head. And it is like one of the most horrific things you'll ever have to live with for the rest of your life. Yeah. Oh, because you assume children. Yeah. Most of the time when it's sex crimes, we're talking about women who have been raped or claim they have been raped. So, but I would say if you had a group, how it goes, domestic abuse is like easiest, not because it doesn't happen, but usually because nobody dies, and so that's actually, you don't see as much damage, although it's extremely important. I'm not knocking any of these things, but when you're working the cases, this is a little bit easier to work. And then you get to, say, homicide and sex crimes are an interesting thing, because it depends whether the homicide cases are people that didn't deserve it, and people who are outside of working police work and profiling think every single person who's murdered, oh my God. Some of them are like, okay. And then there's those few that really get you. And then when you get to say sex crime, sex crimes that where an innocent person has been brutally sexually assaulted, that's very heartbreaking. And then when you get to the children, off the charts, just freaking off the charts. And sometimes it's not even sex crimes, it's the physical abuse and the damage done in the home. And when the child, you have to actually talk to a child who's living in a home that's absolute crap. Yeah. One thing I want to point out, people said, how do you deal with things as a profiler? And I've always said, what I deal with as a profile is always coming after the fact. I've worked on a lot of cases, but it's after the fact. I've seen a few fresh crime scenes, but that wasn't because I was a profiler. That was because I was down in Jamaica and a guy stopped by my table to talk to me and my date and said, hey, how you doing? This businessman with a little suit on and everything. He walked out, we walked out, he was dead. First crime scene I've ever been at, blood everywhere. But I wasn't a profiler. I was just a person who was in Kingston, Jamaica. Generally speaking, profilers don't go to the scene. Even FBI profilers, in spite of all the Hollywood crap, don't go to the scene. We look at photos. We read things. The hardest part is talking to the families of murder victims. That's the most heartbreaking part. But we don't have to actually be at the scene to see the dead child, to see the person who's been brutally murdered. We don't have that image stuck in our brains the same way from looking at a photo. So I will never say, oh, I'm a profiler and I have to deal with so much, trauma. And I've seen profilers in John Douglas and that woman in South Africa, supposedly having all kinds of issues and nightmares because they study cases. I'm like, get out of here. Stop it. Get out of here. She deals with it. We don't. The detectives on the job who go there and see the damage, they deal with it. And the closest I can come is when I worked in the emergency room. I had some cases in the emergency room where I saw people die. And I had to do with the families right after the deaths of their loved ones. That affected me way more than any profiling work I did looking at case files. Let me tell you, that's just the way it is. So I'm not going to take credit for, oh my gosh, I haven't dealt with it. No, I don't have too much problem with it. No, because I wasn't at the scene. Anyway, do you think it could profile without looking at crime scene photos? Cauliflower, that's a great question. Yes and no. I profile a lot of crimes on YouTube without looking at crime because I don't always have crime scene photos. I have enough information to say, as a profiler, if I were looking at this case, here is how I would profile it. But this is an educational channel. Would I do a real profile without looking at that? No. The real profile would be when I work with the police department and analyze all the stuff. I have the crime scene photos. I have the evidence. I have everything. Then I have an opportunity to, as much as I can possibly have outside of being at the scene at the time. And yes, then I can do a good job. But we have to understand the different levels of things. So, oh my God. Cheryl, I have a lot of sympathy for jurors that have to see the evidence in court, and it should not happen. This is why I'm for a professional jury system. I'll say it over and over again. I don't care how many people hate me for it. To take regular citizens, force them into the courtroom, basically enslave them into being jurors, because otherwise you're supposedly going to suffer the criminal consequences of refusing to do jury duty. You're forced into that. You have no training. You have no experience. Your emotional state, everything doesn't matter. Then you're sitting there sometimes for an uncomfortably long time. Most of the time it's boring, but still. Then they start showing you things that you have never seen before. And there are a lot of jurors that have had long-term PTSD from that. And that is not right. That is 100% abuse of the citizens of whatever country you're in that forces you into the situation. Makes me sick. I'm used to this stuff. Put me in that situation, I'm okay. Put innocent citizens into there, it's not okay. I don't know. So that's my thought on that. Okay. Oh, yeah, well, theoretically. Oh, look, the dogs are out. Hold on a second. You hear the dog? Do you hear the dogs in the background? Okay, I'm going to let my daughter know that dogs are out. Can anybody get the dogs back in? Anyone get the dog? Can anyone? Sorry. Luckily, this is a hangout. Get the dogs back in. Back in. Barky things. barky. Hold on a second. Barky things. I'm trying to be nice about this. I'm putting a smiley face. I'm a laughy face. Okay. Doing my show. Doing my show now. So, my daughter's not home. She's working. So, I don't know why the dogs are out, but the dogs are out. But somebody forgot I was doing a show at 3. Do you hear the dogs? Who let the dogs out? Yeah. Well, we have that Cane Corso now. Cane Corso. He's a really big dog. Rocky. He's a super big dog, and he's the cuddliest thing ever. But he barks like crap. It's like a barky thing. You don't mind the dogs? Okay, well that's nice. Oh my God. But anyway, okay. So I wanted to read you this one thing from Collins. I don't know how I got off on this. Colin Sutton. I want you for appeals police. This is way back in London a long time ago. You must be aged between 23 and 40 years of age. And of course, it's all male. Can't be female. You're going to get, let's see. You're going to get, the rates are constable 17 S per week, sergeant 1 pound. 1 S per week. I don't know. S stands for it. That's not pence. But a superintendent gets 3 pounds a week. Oh my God. And the chief constable gets 13 pounds a week. Look at that. Your working hours will be 8, 10, or 12-hour shifts, 7 days a week. No rest days are allowed, and only 1 week holiday per annum unpaid. Who wants this job? Oh my God. They encourage the officers to grow beards, as shaving is regarded as unhealthy. However, beards must not exceed 2 inches in length. Uniform worn at all time to prevent accusations of spying on the public whilst in ordinary clothes. A duty band will be worn to indicate whether you're on duty or off. So if you're a police officer, you have to wear your uniform. Maybe after you wear it to bed with your wife. I don't know. But and then you got the band that says on duty or off duty. You're not allowed to vote in elections. You can't sit down in a public house at any time. You can't gossip with the public, especially with the females. Definitely not with the females. Let's see. You will walk about 20 miles per shift. I know it says miles instead of kilometers. I'm not sure I understand why they're saying miles. No meal breaks are allowed. What the hell? The top hat may be used to hold a snack. It's like, oh good, I'm hungry. You must inform the superintendent before you associate, eat, or drink with any civilians. You have to go for a medical examination and an interview before you join the police, and it's advisable to have a bath so you don't stink to high heaven. That's not in there. The stink is not there. You must expect the hostile reception from all sections of the public and be prepared to be assaulted, stoned, or stabbed in the course of your duties. Oh my God. This is supposedly an advertisement for police officers in 1830. Now, I don't know about the validity of this, but Colin Sutton posted it. And it just cracked me up. I'm like, you got to be really desperate to take that job. It's a lot better today. Oh my God. That just makes me laugh. Sometimes you need a good laugh. A dream job. I mean, it's hard to be a police officer today because there's so much anti-police stuff going on. Now look at the quiet in here. All right, it's gotten quiet. Okay, hold on. Let me say it's gotten quiet. Gotten quiet. I guess it's gone back in. Okay, hold on a second. I got gotten quiet. Okay. All right. All is good. All right. So that just made me laugh. All right. Now. All right. So now onward and upward, or maybe not upward. All right. I just did this show, this video on the new Madeleine McCann body search. Germany went down to a Pradelush just to search for Madeleine McCann, and the search is over. What a shock! Guess what? Without any kind of success. Not shocked at all, actually. All right, so I want to read this little thing. This made me laugh because the dishonesty of the press is unbelievable. The authorities have reactivated the search for evidence following the disappearance of Madeleine McCann in Portugal in 2007. Missing persons expert Charlie Hedges told Britain's Sky News that the investigation has been reopened because there must be, quote, something substantial to warrant an operation of this caliber. They spent £300,000 on this nonsense, 3-day nonsense. I don't know who this expert is, but he obviously is a dupe for the media because he knows damn well that this search is ridiculous. Okay. And of course, they come up with nothing because the whole thing is supposedly that they had some lead from the investigation to Christian Bruckner, and therefore they knew where they should search, which is just basically where he lived in the vicinity around. So they just dug up the whole place, like they've dug up the reservoir area, dug up whatever in Germany. They keep digging up a lot of crap because they're hoping they're going to get lucky, because they've got zero proof that Christian Bruckner had anything to do with the disappearance of Madeleine McCann. They know there's no evidence of an abduction, but they're ignoring that fact. Christian Bruckner is a creepo, but so he was. If there were proof that Madeleine McCann had been abducted in Praia da Luz, I'd be looking at Christian Bruckner, but there isn't any. And that's how we look at Christian Bruckner. But if there wasn't anything in Christian Bruckner that was linking him actually to the, quote, abduction, then I would have to look elsewhere. But that's not the way it's working, because the German prosecutor has something up his butt that says, I want to be famous and I want to be the one to solve this case. And I don't know, maybe he's getting old and he wants his moment in the sun and he's failing dismally. He's not happy about it. But the other person that's popping up all over the place, of course, is John Clark. John Clark, I've been searching for, at the time I wrote this, I did this video. I read John Clark's book, My Search for Madeleine, So You Don't Have to. That was 3 years ago. And that was, he said he'd been looking for 14 years. Now it's been like 17 years. He's still out there spewing this crap. And the problem is, he is totally in the Bruckner camp, ignores every shred of evidence that says that is not what that Madeleine was not abducted, and he's still out there, and he's going to continue to be out there because the media loves him, and the McCanns probably don't mind him. I'm not going to go. A lot of people think everybody's on the payroll of the McCanns. I don't believe that. I believe that there's just a lot of people there who have their own agendas. John Clark wants to sell his book. John Clark wants to be in the news. John Clark wants to do what is popular, which is to say, and he's said forever, Christian Bruckner is the guy who did it, without a shred of proof. So there you go. Could there be evidence on Maddie? Yes. Okay. Maybe later. It's a good question. I didn't object entirely to them digging up whatever they want to dig up. And I don't have any faith in Bernd Stellander's 800-page tome, which outlines that Madeleine McCann died days before claimed, and a dozen and a half people are all involved in a big, huge, fat cover-up. And she's buried on the Roja Negra. I don't buy his theory. But if you want to go dig up the Roja Negra, have at it. Maybe she's there regardless of whether I agree with Bernd Stellander or not. And you want to dig up the land around, Christian Bruckner's house at the time, fine, go ahead and do it. Because, hey, at least you're eliminating possibilities. So I don't object to that. Now, if you found the body of Madeleine McCann at this point in time, what would it mean? That's where the real problem comes in. If she's found on the hill, on the Roja Negra, where Bernd seems to say he's got cameras and he won't reveal any of the videos he claims he has of the McCanns coming there and throwing flowers down or whatever. Nonsense. But if her body were found up there, does it prove the McCanns are involved? Unless if he can provide those videos and show the McCanns laying flowers down on this one piece of ground, and then the body ends up there, I'm going to, well, Bernd, you're right. I'll say you're right. But if her body is just found in the general vicinity on the Roja Negra, it could be the McCanns, it could be somebody else. If the body is found between the flat that the McCanns had and Christian Bruckner's house, and her body's found. Could be Christian Bruckner, could be the McCanns, it could be somebody else. In other words, finding the body in certain places doesn't necessarily pinpoint who put the body there, unless if with the body, Christian Bruckner dropped his driver's license on top of her. That would work. If she's found in the missing sports bag, that might be something. If her body was found in the insides of Christian Bruckner's house or under like a patio or something, I would say it's Christian Bruckner. So you have to have something that specifically links to somebody as opposed to just a body somewhere. So that, you know, now I've thought that the body might be in it's like 6 minutes to the west in a place called now I've forgotten, Monte de Jose Mestre, which I linked to my previous video, the wonderful gentleman who went there, and I've linked his I'll try to remember to link it again. He went there and he actually looked for her body at the location I said was a good place for her to be found, because Jerry's phone pinged near that location. It's one of the most isolated areas near Praia da Luz that you could bury a body. I had been there. I've checked it out. I thought it was possible. He went out there and he just spent days looking for a body there. Now, generally speaking, when people look for bodies, they never find them. They're only found by joggers, dog walkers, hunters that trip over them or whatever, or some animal digs up the body one day and there it is. So he did not find her. And he did say that he thought that the earth was extremely hard in that location, as it was. He also went out to Burnt's location on Roca Negra. I love this guy. And he said it was hard as hell there too. It's hard to dig down into it. Although I know there was a dog buried someplace. So is it possible? Maybe after rains, maybe on certain locations near a tree. I don't know. I found it was possible, but he struggled with it, finding it was hard to get too deep. Do I believe there's possibly a gully somewhere? And this is done oftentimes. You can go to an area you can't really dig, but then you find a place that goes like this. You dump the body in there and you make it a shallow grave. He didn't find it. Maybe for a couple of reasons. Maybe because it's a massive place and you just can't. Your chances of finding it are very limited, or the body's not there. But let's say this wonderful gentleman did find the body. Oh my God, I found Madeleine McCann. She's not in a sports bag. She's just there in a shallow grave. All these years later, just because I think Sherri McCann's phone pinged there and is a great place to bury a body, does that prove Sherri McCann put her body there? It does not. Christian Bruckner could have put her body there. Mr. Smith could have put, well, without. I'll use the word Smith as a Smith sighting, the Smith sighting. But okay, let's say this is some complete stranger that we don't even know about. Some other child sex predator put her there. That's the problem. Unless you have evidence, somebody else could have done it. Even if it's not probable, you have to be able to prove it. And I think people have issues getting very emotional about things, and they think, oh my God, that means. No, it doesn't mean. I wish it meant, but it doesn't mean that. So that's why I've often said the chances of this case being solved about this big. Lex says, it's like they're hell-bent on convicting the German dude. Yeah, because the German prosecutor, I think he's got, that's his thing. Of course, they want the case closed, but you can't fit a crime to someone. No, but that doesn't stop certain prosecutors who want to be famous from doing that exact thing. So I bet the parents, oh, absolutely. and they're not, it's interesting. They don't speak up much about Christian Bruckner. And one of the things, again, that parents of murdered children do is go berserk when they think somebody might have done something to their child. They will lose their freaking minds over it, to the point of ridiculousness sometimes. Because they'll be out there everywhere going, it's Christian Bruckner. Why don't they bring him? Why don't they bring him? They say nothing. I think they're perfectly happy if he got, okay, he's good. He's a great person to be a patsy. They're happy about that, but they don't seem to be very enraged. This man, if he took your daughter, your Madeleine, he took her someplace and I won't say too many things on YouTube. He would have done things to her that you will never, ever get over visualizing. And I'm sure if you really had a missing child, you visualize those things already. But now if you have a face to put with the visualization. But, okay. Yeah, it's interesting that they seem to stay silent on things that, now, they stay silent on other things where people have said, well, they're thinking that somebody saw Madeleine here or there, or that fake Madeleine Drew, what her face is. I don't give her any credit. One who's now, been stalking the McCanns and claims she's Madeleine, it's ridiculous. She's a psycho. Anyway, they've ignored her. And why shouldn't they? I mean, guilty or not guilty, they should ignore her. And when they say she's been seen in Australia, she's been seen in South America, I get that maybe they're not going to jump on everything. But Christian Bruckner, if you got to get a patsy, he's a good one. He is what he is. He's a psychopathic child. He's a psychopathic sex predator who lived in the area. I think he's great for a patsy. I think he's great. If I believed there was an abduction, I think he would be, you definitely want to check him out. Now, I don't know if he was checked out enough. There's a whole issue over that was checked out enough at the time. Murat, there was a good reason to check out Murat because of the location of where he lived, which is right there, where he would have seen them come and go, seen Madeleine come and go. Then he inserted himself in the investigation. There was a good reason to look at Murat. And there would be a good reason to look at Christian Bruckner. But the parents seem to be very uninterested, which is interesting to me. So, yeah, that thing. Why does she think she doesn't think she's Maddie? She's a con artist. People stop thinking that she actually thinks she's Maddie. She doesn't. She's playing everybody. She's a con artist who wants attention. Munchausen-y type thing. She's a psychopath, in my opinion. I'm not a psychologist. I can't actually label her a psychopath or diagnose her as one. But from all her behaviors, I would say she's all about the attention. She doesn't believe she's Madeleine. So, no. All right, let me get off of that. I want to mention one thing about, where is she? What did I do with her? Sherri Papini. Okay, so I did see the Sherri Papini documentary. I did a video on that, and I said, they said she was coming out with a book. Oh, sure enough, she is. Here it is. Sherri Papini doesn't exist. And she's talking about how the media defined me, destroyed me, and the truth that no one heard. Okay, we saw most of that absolute insanity in the documentary, which I don't know how much she got paid for, but I'd love to know. Anyway, she's got this book coming out, and I was concerned that a major publisher would put out her book because a lot of times they don't have any ethics. So I'm like, are they putting out this piece of crap? And it turns out it's being put out by Thought Publishers. And if you look down on her, where the publishing information, it says Though Publishers. They left the T off. Great group of people. Anyway, she could have just self-pubbed on Amazon, but apparently she needed a co-author or a ghostwriter. What his name is on there. His name is actually on there. And so let's see, Stephen, whoever that guy is, he helped her write it. I don't know if she had to pay for, when you get these kind of vanity publishers, you have to pay for certain things. You pay for the cover of the book. You pay for them putting it out there. You pay for a ghostwriter or a co-writer, and it basically got ripped off. But it's only on Kindle, as I can see, for $10. So do I think it's worth reading? No, I think it's nonsense. I am thrilled that it wasn't picked up by a major publisher, because that just disgusts me when that happens. When they don't care about truth or ethics, they just don't. They know they're going to make a crap load of money. I'm surprised a major publisher didn't pick it up. I really am. All right. But anyway, I want to go to this case because this is freaky to me. All right. This fellow was just murdered in a most horrific way. And let me, I want to pull up the information on the murder. All right. Okay. He was murdered at this location. This is called Tropic Bay. He owned a koi pond business, and this just happened on May 24th. This is his business. He has koi. He does it's water gardens, and what's super creepy about it is This happened a mile down the street. I'm on the same street. And I drive by that Tropic Gardens all the time. And because I don't have I mean, I theoretically could, I live next to my daughter. I could say, hey, I want to put out a koi pond, which would be kind of cool. Wouldn't it be nice? But I'm a lazy gardener. In other words, I don't garden. I love gardens. I love botanical gardens. I love plants. I love flowers. I like seeing them. I like other people making them beautiful and keeping them alive. I just don't love doing it. So anyway, and by the way, I do have two planters outside my house where I put flowers in every spring. But the Cane Corso de Rocky just completely went in those planters and ripped up all the dirt. So I'm like, along with paying all that money for the fancy dirt, there's no way he's not going to rip up all the flowers. He's still a puppy. So I'm not going to have that. So anyway, but I keep driving by this tropic bed, literally down the street from my house. And I keep thinking to myself, I should stop in there one day and just it would be pretty to I'm kind of curious about the koi pond thing and all the outdoor garden stuff. It would be pretty to see. I kept thinking I should just stop by. And now he's been murdered, the owner of that. This is one of the weirdest cases ever. Here's the story on what started as a normal night in Maryland, ended in a chilling crime scene. And now two teenagers, there they are facing murder charges in a case that left the community stunned. Edward Stephen Koza, 67 years old, a well-known koi pond business owner in Davidson, Maryland, was found bound and burned in his own truck on the night of May 24th. According to police, Jonah Michael Poole and Kylie Alitha Dakes, both 18, are prime suspects. And one piece of evidence helped crack the case was a Bass Pro Shop baseball cap. This is what they did, allegedly. Tied Koza's arms and taped his mouth shut, drove him around in his truck, doused the vehicle with gasoline, set it on fire while he was still inside. Koza's charred body was found in the truck outside his business, Tropic Bay Water Gardens, around 9:25 p.m. that night. His identity wasn't confirmed until later, but clues quickly pointed to who he was, including a missing thumb and matching physical features. Okay, there was a hat left at the scene, the same kind purchased earlier that day at a local Bass Pro Shop, led police straight to Poole and Dakes. Surveillance footage from a nearby gas station also caught the couple in Koza's truck. That's Koza's truck. That is her. I think that's her, not him. I'm not sure. Okay. And they also caught Dakes walking in to pay for the gas, and Poole and Dakes walking in to pay for the gas, and Poole visible in the driver's seat. Here she is walking. You see her in the store? That's her. And she's smiling. Police found signs of a violent struggle inside the business. This business is where the young man worked at. She worked at a restaurant which was robbed like a couple weeks prior by him. I don't know about her, but I can't remember the whole deal on that. The violent struggle inside the business, blood on a bag, and a gas can near the truck. Surveillance and prom photos helped ID Poole. Both suspects were seniors at Southern High School and were reportedly in a romantic relationship. Neither attended their graduation. I wonder why. Poole is also facing charge of a burglary at Pirates Cove restaurant just a week earlier. Meanwhile, both defense attorneys say there's no clear evidence. It's on freaking video. You want to see the evidence? Here it is. Supposedly, I'm not saying this is true, but this is supposedly him lighting up the truck with the gasoline and a lighter. No confession and no known motive. The judge wasn't swayed. They're both denied bail. They're still trying to determine the motive. All right, 18 years old. I'm sorry, I keep clicking on that one. Both of them are 18. He supposedly, people said they knew him because I'm going to Facebook like crazy. People said they knew him, and he was very much on the dark side, the dark web, and a lot of blood stuff and everything. So he seems like a super creepo. I can't find, he does not, I can't find a Facebook page of his. I can't find a relative's Facebook page. I think I have found some, but they don't mention him. But I found a Facebook page of her, and I found a Facebook page that I believe is her mother. And the reason I want to point this out is this. Here's her Facebook page, Kylie Dakes. The first 3 colors you see reveal how narcissistic you are. She is 10,000% empath, stubbornly independent. And then her mother comments, who seems to be her mother, my big-hearted, headstrong girl. And then you have the people who are outraged. Someone who is big-hearted doesn't help murder an innocent person. That man did not deserve to lose his life, especially in a horrendous way. And then somebody else said, your girl's a murderer and going to get the needle. When you raise this POS, shame on you. I hope your daughter rots in hell. Your daughter literally burned an elderly man alive in a car. He was trapped. Holy fuck. Yeah. A lot of outrage toward the mother, who was a single mom, by the way. But here's, assuming this is all the correct person, and I do believe it is, I just want to point out something. It just boggles my mind. Okay, here she is. She goes to Southern Middle School, and she's, seems happy. Here's some pictures of her. She's growing up. Seems like a happy, lovely person. I mean, everything about the mother seems totally invested in raising her child well. She seems to have lots of fun, lots of great things she's doing. Like she's playing musical instruments. She doesn't look like a bad life. I saw another picture of her recently. She's on a boat on the going boating away on the Maryland around Chesapeake Bay. She's out there with, having a great time. Mom points this. It's a beautiful day to get a car wash. Don't forget to come by Edgewater by the Glory Days today until 3 p.m. Come and get your car all clean and shiny. This Saturday, if you're in the area, stop on by the shopping center in Edgewater by the Glory Days. Kylie's Girl Scout troop will be having a car wash to help them gain awards and donations. This was her last year as a Girl Scout. A Girl Scout. What the? And I mean, one could say she hooked up with the wrong guy, had horrible ideas, but she didn't seem to be having a problem as far as the photos show of being involved. Now, mind you, his body was in the truck before they went to the gas station, which is it's on my street. They went to the gas station to put gas in there to get gas to burn up the truck. And she's walking in. She already knows they've assaulted him, tied him up, and put him in the back of the truck. She knows exactly what they're doing, and she's smiling. I don't know what to say, because it doesn't seem like she's had a bad life. It seems like she's been raised well. I mean, a single mom struggles with these things, but it seems like she was an only child that her mother seemed to put a lot of effort into. Now, of course, it's Facebook, so behind the scenes, we don't know what hell is going on. Maybe could be things going on that we don't know. This child could have been psychopathic since she was a young child. She could have been abused. I don't know. We don't know any of the stuff that went on behind Facebook happy pages. But still, what? And just because you hook up with this creepy dude, who it seems to me nobody liked, and I can't find anything useful about him that's very pleasant. Just because you're why are you picking this guy to be in a relationship with? And why would you go along with this, with a brutal homicide like this? And this is where sometimes, even as a profiler, I go, I mean, if I had the opportunity to interview her, to go back into her entire past and all this kind of stuff, maybe there'd be a clue. Maybe her mother overlooked the fact that her daughter maybe had a personality disorder. And that's why she chose her boyfriend. That's why she thought it was fun to go do this stuff. But these two, I think the evidence is pretty overwhelming in spite of what their defense attorneys say. I'm going to say they're 18 years old. They're going to prison for a very long time, if not life. Unbelievable. Just headstrong might be a clue. It could be. But I think my granddaughter's a little headstrong. But I don't see any psychopathic behavior in her. You know what I mean? Empathetic. This empathy thing. My God. We know from the pictures someone takes photographs in the family. We know nothing else what may be wrong. This is true. Facebook is like that. You know, all my kids are happy. And there's been many times I've talked to people about this where you see a family, and they went to, back in the days it was Olin Mill Studios. That's where you went for the family portrait, and nobody bothers with that now. But you go to a family portrait, and you see them, the wife, the children, the husband, and then the next day they're all dead. So Facebook is a presentation of either sharing your life because you have other people who want to see the different things that happen and enjoy it. But then you get people who they're presenting life as the way they want people to see it. So we don't know. We do not. But still, I mean, it's still, she is a Girl Scout till this moment. I mean, usually you think, my granddaughter's in Girl Scouts. My daughter was in Girl Scouts. I mean, you at least think they weren't out just drugging and partying. They were actually doing something useful. Just blows me away. You know, even that is true. Denial in Egypt, right? Oh, Lord. Felicity says, I watched a documentary the other day and they were like, quote, from this one stage student studio family photo, we can tell the child was abused. What? Yeah, you can't tell that either. You got that one child that's like, because he was in a bad mood that day and didn't want to do that stupid photo. Yeah. Yeah, that's meaningless too. A still photo doesn't tell you anything. Neither does, by the way, a short video. And as a person who's been in television for a really long time, I can tell you, I've had any of my haters they'll find a really bad photo, like that'll be me. And they'll have that photo, or I'll do something where something will happen right before they're cutting right before something occurred, and then you don't see what happened prior. So like the McCanns, there's that one point where the McCanns are coming out of the church and they're letting off balloons and they're both grinning from ear to ear. And I know a lot of people use that as oh look, see, they don't care about their daughter. I don't know if that's true, because first of all, I do think they cared about their daughter. I think things happened. But it was a moment in time. Who knows why they smiled at that moment in time? So I never take a picture or a short video as meaningful. I have to find out what all surrounds it. So yeah, but is this what you're explaining? I'm an OnlyFans side hustle. Oh, I would. The funny thing is today. Once upon a time, I would be just a joke. I was like, yeah, I obviously would not be successful having any kind of pornographic channel because I'm too old. But today, I swear to God, I could indeed have an OnlyFans channel because there'll be some creepo dude out there who likes grandmas who are overweight. You'll get off on that. So I could indeed make more money on OnlyFans than I do on YouTube. Thanks for the idea, Sarah. Okay. You always say everyone has their kink. I never say that. No, I don't think so. But there are many people who do have a kink. There's a difference between the two. I don't know. The mother probably, it's only been it's not been very long. I mean, I would think she either is totally stunned. It's her only child. She's just lost her only child, along with that her child's now a murderer and they're going to be in prison the rest of her life. She either can't believe it, she thinks the boy made her do it, or she knows her child had issues and she just can't accept it. I don't know which one it's going to be, but it's just really super sad, super, super sad. And it's literally just down the street. And I pass it all the time. I mean, it's, and these are kids. These are the high schools that my granddaughter could go to. And you just think about that. And you think, oh my God, it's just kind of blows you away. All right, let me get off of that. Very exciting to me because it is local and wow. I want to mention this case. Somebody asked me about this. This is Sana Yusuf. She is one of the, a TikTok person, Instagram. She's got 1 million subscribers, 17 years old. This is her. This is her celebrating her birthday right before she got murdered by that guy on the right. I'm trying to read this, and this is Urdu that's being written on the top. I'm not trying. I know a little Hindi, which is the same thing as Urdu, except for the way it's normally written. Except this is written in English style. I'm just trying to see what it says here. But yeah, he's supposedly the guy that shot her. And the major thing I wanted to point out here is the other week I showed you a beautiful young woman who got shot, who was a huge TikTok person and real pretty, and she has like a nail place or whatever she was in, and some guy just walked in and blew her away. There are people out here right now. This is this picture of this. This is her funeral. They're carrying her body in the casket there. This is all her family and relatives. Everybody very brokenhearted over this. But a lot of people think this is. Oh, by the way, this happened in Pakistan. Okay, so a lot of people think that this happened because, and this is not a political channel. I just like to clear things up that sometimes people conflate things. There are issues in Pakistan as far as females go. Let's not get into it. But just because something happens in Pakistan doesn't mean it had to do with the any kind of necessarily any kind of Islamic viewpoint on women, because it's a Muslim country for the most part. Sometimes we conflate these two things. And if we're going to be honest, we're going to understand things, how they work. You don't want to conflate things. Another moment in time, it could be a week from now, you could have a woman who was murdered because it could be an honor kind of crime, because she got a boyfriend who didn't, was not a Muslim, or could be of a Muslim sect that they didn't like, or what they consider not a Muslim sect. It could be. And that could be related to religion or culture. This was not. This was a stalker. The guy kept wanting to get with her. He kept trying to reach out to her. He wanted her to recognize him. He was obsessed with her. And by the way, just to show you some things, this is a picture of her. Here she is. She's in a very beautiful outfit. All of her clothing has been what I would call highly respectful, and she's not half naked or anything. All of her clothes have been very appropriate. She's just a very she does stuff with her family. She's just very happy, appropriately dressed. There's nothing she's doing that is problematic for if you're going to go the religious route or something like that. Simple fact is, she was an attractive 17-year-old girl some guy got obsessed with, and he couldn't get her. And so he went and shot her, because now he is, and I point this out with stalkers all over the place, because now that unknown guy, who probably was some kind of loser, his photo is now next to her photo. They are now together. And that is what a lot of stalkers want. They want the moment where their photo and that person, whether it be John Lennon or whether it be John Benet Ramsey and that creepy dude. Yeah. Once the thing happens, whether it be a murder or a claim, the pictures go side by side, and that gives them that thrill of being with the one they're obsessed with. Sometimes they even just the moment of being next to them when they kill them, the last person you're going to see is me. That will give us connection for eternity. That's the way a stalker thinks. So this was not a religious thing. This has nothing to do with Pakistan or any of that crap. Don't go there, because it has nothing to do with that in this particular case. It's just a poor girl, and she seemed like a really nice girl. Unfortunately, when you go public, you get obsessive stalkers. I've had stalkers before in my life. I looked better at the time, but I've had stalkers for a number of reasons. Some because they obsessed with me, some because they wanted to be with me, and some because they wanted to be me and wanted me out of the picture and so they could take over. I mean, you get all kinds of weird ideations. This girl seemed to be just a really sweet girl that this guy probably thought, oh my God, she's the love of my life. Really sad. Now she's gone. So anybody who puts themselves out there, whether it be TikTok, YouTube, television, because we've had, people who've been, television hosts of news anchors have real problems with this because you see that person on the news every freaking night. So there's where the obsession starts. And every night you get to see your girl. And you want to be with a girl, but she doesn't pay any attention to you until that moment when you take her out. That's pretty sad. This is a good point, Lex. Leading toward a religious motive for the start screws the investigation, hampers the chance of catching criminals with purely sick motives. The problem is allowing emotions to get in the way. And based on this, what you just said, we have this case right here. This is big in the news right now. This is Jonathan Joss. I'm not sure I'm pronouncing his name correctly because I've never actually seen anything he did. Okay, he is famous for being King of the Hill voice actor. Famous for this. He was shot and killed outside his Southside home in San Antonio on June 1st. Joss, 59, was shot and killed allegedly by his neighbor, Sigfredo Alvarez Ceja, supposedly. And he's been arrested. Ceja, I'm not sure I'm pronouncing his name right, but Ceja, Ceja, has been arrested. All right. Now, he was living there with a very young husband. Very young. Guy looked like he was like 20. But anyway, now the young husband who saw the shooting says that Ceja killed him because he could not handle two men being in love. So it became a hate crime against gay people. However, and it could be, that's the thing is not that something can't be something, but it isn't necessarily that. And even if that person expressed some issues, that, hey, I thought the guys should be together, doesn't mean the crime had anything to do with it. Okay. So what it says here, which is interesting as it goes along, Isabel Caballero, who lived on the block since 2021, told the news people she witnessed the aftermath of the shooting. She initially thought it was a relative, but then she saw Joss. Gunshots went on. Blah, blah, blah. Okay. Joss had visited his home to retrieve his mail, but started freaking out once he saw the remains of his dogs outside his home, which burned down in January. Okay, so now the claim is sort of that the guy, Ceja, who killed Joss, was the one who burnt down their home because they hated gay people. Well, it turns out that apparently they brought Joss and his husband brought in a grill thing into the house because they didn't have heat and set the house on fire, which killed the dogs. So anyway, supposedly, it's not arson. It's supposedly an accidental thing from stupidity. But then this is what all the neighbors say about Joss. He would just walk up and down the street. He would just like scream. He was very loud, but we knew how he was, and we wouldn't disturb him. Even if he looked at us, talked mess to us, we just ignored him because we knew that's just how he was. They said he wasn't a good neighbor. He'd do erratic things on the street and claimed he was God. Apparently, the police had been to that house 40 times since January 2024 with calls connected to mental health disturbances and welfare checks and a fire reported in January. And he also apparently stood on his roof banging pans and stuff. And he also recently went into let's see if I can find it here. He showed up at this TV thing, like a panel or something, and he wasn't invited, but he popped up in the audience and he walked onto the stage and they're all like, oh, and he said a bunch of stuff. They're like, and they wanted him to get out of there. He had mental issues, serious mental issues, and was a horrible neighbor. And apparently he and this guy had problems for a long time. Maybe because he's a horrible freaking neighbor that he's always causing trouble and acting out. And this other neighbor just didn't like it. And finally, one day he said, enough of this crap. And apparently he had moved away because of the fire, but he came back and I guess set this guy off. I'm not saying it couldn't be anti-gay people, but I'm going to say that the reason for the murder wasn't probably that. It was that he was fed up and angry and wanted this guy to go the hell away. And he made him go away. Now, of course, is he going to prison for it? Yes. Just because your neighbor pisses you off, even if he's pissed you off for years, even if he's the cause of the trouble, you still can't get a gun out and blow him away. I mean, that's just the rule of law. It sucks, but you can't do it. I've had a lot of neighbors that I would have liked to have seen disappear, but I know the rule of law, and so I can't do that, even if they're driving me crazy day after day after that, and they're not nice. It's the way it is. So is he going to go, is a killer going to go away to prison? Yes, he is. But this whole thing where it's going to blow up into something political is nonsense, because it isn't that. Even if the guy was, maybe he did not like gay guys. Maybe he didn't like the gay guys together. I don't know. That's his own personal opinion. He's allowed to have it. But it's not a hate crime, as far as the police have said. It's not a hate crime. And because the police have said it's not a hate crime, there's a whole lot of flack all over the internet that they're trying to downplay this. And I just don't believe it's true, because unfortunately, Josh says he seems to have had a long history of mental issues. And his ex-wife, he did have an ex-wife. She said, so I don't know if I have it here. She said that he was a mess when they were married. And so I think it's a very sad situation. We've got a person with a mental health problem, that somebody else, that person's mental health, who was affected by that person's mental health. So they wiped it. So, it blew up. The husband guy said they made noise so the neighbors couldn't sleep. And that's problematic. That's sad. He was so funny on Parks and Rec. Well, people confuse talent with whether they're a good person to be around. There are many great actors and actresses who are fabulous at what they do. But high level, number of them are narcissistic. Some of them are psychopathic. Why? Because to be able to get out and do that kind of thing, a lot of times you have to have that kind of narcissistic personality thing going on, where you're willing to put yourself out there. Now, not everybody, again, this is a portion, not everybody, but they can be fabulous at being actors and scumbags in person. But, I've always told myself, you can appreciate a great artist. You can appreciate a great actor. You can appreciate a great writer. Even if you're like, I don't know that I want to be around them personally, you know what I mean? It's like, because probably they might be horrible people. And I'm going to do a thing on, I just watched the first thing of Toxic, and I will do a show on that, a separate show. And the woman who does that, she was somebody tell me her name, Toxic name, and her husband pretty much been booted out of the industry because of everything he did, which was pretty repulsive. I'm trying to figure out who it is. Okay, show. So episode 1. Okay. So in Toxic, it's Elizabeth Chambers, and her ex was Elizabeth Chambers, who kind of, I'm not thrilled with her, but anyway, Elizabeth Chambers' husband, he was, it's a huge thing, which I never heard about, because I'm not into celebrity gossip crap, but her husband was, let's see, Artie, what's his name? Armie Hammer. And Armie Hammer was accused of rape, cheated on Elizabeth during the marriage, sent out a whole pile of texts into BDSM. But more than that, he's despicable beyond belief, absolutely repulsive. And yet he's very handsome. And I could be watching a movie with him and thinking, ooh, how am I being with him? But when I read his text messages, I want to stay as far away from that creep as I could possibly stay. Absolutely disgusting. Oh, worse than P. Diddy. Really. I mean, I will do it. The show I'm going to do on this is going to be about the show Toxic, and Armie Hammer also, and Elizabeth Chambers, and the people who are in toxic relationships. And what bothered me more than anything else is that their level of participation in the toxic relationships is also creepy and stupid. And they don't go there because nobody wants to ever go there about the victim. But yet the victim has made such poor choices. It's insane. So I'll do something on that so people can get angry with me. But wow, Armie Hammer, what a disgusting human being. But if I was watching a movie with him, I might think, oh man, he's something. Except P. Diddy didn't want to eat people, and Armie Hammer said he did. Yes, just in his fantasies. That's a problem. If your fantasies including wanting to eat people, and if you're with somebody, and this is this little insight to the video I'm going to do. If you're with somebody who says they want to torture you and eat you, you don't go on a second date or even meet them. Unbelievable. It's just disgusting. So anyway, okay. Now, I was asked to talk about this. This Washington State father is wanted for the murder of his 3 daughters. And like Lindsay Clancy, who killed her 3 daughters while sent her husband out for some food. This case, the parents were divorced or separated. I'm looking for it now. Okay, kids, where are you? Here we go. These soul children. What happened was this is what drives me nuts. All right. Again, where is logic in this world? Police said it is unknown whether Decker, his name is Travis Decker, is 32 years old. A picture of Travis Decker. I don't seem to have it here. I had it, but I lost it. Unknown whether Decker, a former Army soldier with extensive training, was armed. Officials are still processing leads with the help of the FBI, Border Patrol, and Department of Homeland Security. So looking for this guy. He's well versed in outdoor survival and has been able to survive for 2 months at a time while off the grid. The 3 girls, 9-year-old Peyton, 8-year-old Evelyn, and 5-year-old Olivia, the mother of the girls reported to the police that their father didn't return them after a planned visit. The planned visit with their father was a father who was homeless living in his vehicle. Now, admittedly, there are times in life when people end up homeless and have to live in their vehicles. But they're in certain situations, the reason they're living in the vehicle is because they have mental issues. And you don't send 3 children. I don't even understand where they were going to visit with him in his vehicle. So anyway, he's got a 2017 GMC Sierra pickup. All right. Decker's unoccupied truck was located Monday near a campground. They found the bodies of the 3 girls. I guess they were going to the campground with their mentally off father. They found the bodies of the 3 girls. They believe the girls died from asphyxiation and reported their wrists were zip-tied, court documents said. Mother told police that Decker picked up the girls around 5 p.m. but did not return by 8 p.m. The detective said she expressed concern because Decker reported they'd never done this before. In other words, he had visitation, but he never done that before. But then she says he was currently experiencing some mental health issues. What the heck is wrong with you? If he's experiencing mental health issues, you do not let your children go hang out with them. What prompted her to call us was that it was late returning when he not communicated to her he was going to be late. And so this is out of the ordinary. Let's see more. Okay. According to documents, she said she hadn't had any problems with visitations with Travis Decker in the past. So what? Just because you got lucky so far isn't necessarily a place your children should be. According to the documents filed for custodial interference, Whitney and Travis were married for 7 years, but had been divorced for several years. And she said the divorce was civil. Oh, and here is why I'm going to do this video on the stupid toxic show. Toward the end of the marriage, he was diagnosed with borderline personality disorder. And Whitney did not believe he was on any medication for that. He was supposed to seek mental health treatment and anger management counseling under the parenting plan, but never did. He's got a personality disorder. He's mentally disturbed. He wouldn't take medication even if it wouldn't help him, but still he's not going to do it. And he doesn't get counseling for his anger and health, mental health. And yet you send your children off to be with a guy in his car in a campground? Let's see, what else did I say? What's going he was a full member of the National Guard until 2023 or 24 when he switched to part-time. He stopped attending mandatory monthly drills. And they were in a process of disciplinary discharge for him because obviously he's got issues. This makes me angry. This is nonsensical. I mean, it's hard enough that when everything is seemingly good and no mental health issues, and there's no way you can keep your kids from seeing that person. I get it. Sometimes tragedy happens and you didn't see it coming. She saw it coming, and she let her 3 children go off with their mentally unstable father. And she's still being nice about it. I don't know. I just I can't stomach that. Yeah, if they're not messing with children, it's one thing. But on the other hand, if they're going to see your children, I don't know. It says they're a court ordering it. I don't know, but my kids aren't going to go to their mentally disturbed father if he hasn't done his treatment and he's got a personality. And he's living out of a freaking vehicle. No, I mean, no, just no. I don't know. There's a little bit of lack of information about that, but she seemed to be perfectly fine with the whole thing, even though all these things were obvious and he wasn't doing what he needed to do. And yet that should right there, as soon as you see him not doing what he's supposed to do, and you go straight back to the courts. I mean, you don't leave your 3 children with him. I mean, I just don't get it. She may or may not, that may be true, but I will take the chance on not leaving my kids there. I don't care. I would not let him take my children court order or not. Under those particular circumstances where there's proof that he is unstable as hell and living out of his vehicle. You make another deal. You say, hey, you can come to my house, even though he might come and blow you all away. Sometimes you can't stop them, but to just nonchalantly let your kids go off with a whack job is problematic. I don't know. Yeah, she did sadly pay the price. But worse, the 3 girls paid the price because they're trusting their father and their mother. And if one is totally untrustworthy, the other one needs to have something that keeps them safe. And sometimes you can't stop it entirely. But if you see somebody's that unstable, you should get your kids away from them. And let I say sometimes you're forced by the courts and there's nothing you can do, but this doesn't sound like that. It sounds very vague and like she's like sort of said, well, he doesn't do this and doesn't do that. And okay, he came to pick the kids up, and I thought they're just going to go out and have McDonald's. And maybe they always did just go out and have McDonald's. It's just super sad. It's just super sad. I wanted to mention this because somebody was talking about Munchausen syndrome, and this has been brought up quite a few times. Eugenia Cooney, she's making millions. She's been on YouTube for like a decade, and she's clearly anorexic as hell. What she weighed now, 80 pounds or something. And she did go away for a little while to get some treatment, but she's back and she's thinner than ever. And it's sickening because she's supposed to be this fashion icon, and I can't even begin to understand how. First of all, nothing's great about those clothes, and her goth look is not that thrilling. And she's creepy looking, like she looks like some kind of weird vampire, but yet somehow she's popular, and people keep watching her stuff, and she makes a ton of money. But a lot of people are claiming that her mother must be Munchausen's, because she lives with her mother and doesn't drive because she's unable to drive. Her mother drives her around, and she lives there. I guess her mother feeds her. I guess those 2 crackers a day won't break the budget. But she lives like a child in her mother's house. And she also does this. So here she is on this one show. She said, "Mom, my mom turns me preppy." And so then mom buys preppy clothes so she won't look goth. And then she goes and tries the dress on, and she comes back, takes all the makeup off. She does look way better not being goth. Mind you, her mother's right. She's, "Oh my God, I'm a little preppy girl. I'm a little preppy girl." And people they're really pissed off. They keep calling up mothers Munchausen's Munchausen syndrome by proxy. And they're just conflating that with just maybe other issues. She's an enabler, blah, blah, blah. She has her daughter living in her house, doing her show from her house, driving her around, appearing on her show, all giddy, ha. I'm going to say Munchausen syndrome by proxy. I'm going to say she has done something to this girl through her entire freaking life. And she is an enabler. But why is she an enabler? Because if my daughter looked like that, there would be no shows done in my house. She would be in treatment. 100% in treatment. I would not permit that crap, because I know my daughter is getting massive attention from TikTok, YouTube, by doing these things, looking as she does, because people are watching, not because they think the people say, "Oh, you're so cute." You're a sick bunch of SOBs. You're looking at a woman who is dying, who's killing herself, and you're like, "Oh, you're so cute today." You're sick. But they love watching her because I guess it's fascinating. It's so bizarre. You just want to see how long it's going to take her to die, I guess. And how she can walk around even looking like that, because she's so frail, she can hardly move. But mommy's there going, that's disgusting. Now people say, well, the mother has a lot of money. They're not needing her money, so she's not using her daughter for money. That doesn't matter. She can be using her daughter for all the other things. The thrill she gets at her daughter is famous. The thrill that she gets to control her daughter in the house, and that she gets to play, I don't know, dorm monitor to her sick child. So I have no love for that mother. I think she's appalling. And her daughter needs psychiatric help. Her daughter they need to shut down that channel. They should shut it off of YouTube. They should shut it, because some people have actually put a petition out to say, you should shut this down because it's encouraging people to be anorexic. And, it's funny because YouTube and TikTok are so picky about certain things, but that's okay. I think, yes, her channel doesn't need to be out there, and she needs to be in a psychiatric institute. I guess if she doesn't do that, she has managed to she's survived a decade. I don't know how she's done it, because it's unbelievable because she's so emaciated that at some point all her organs are going to fail. There's no way around it. So that she will be here another 2 or 3 years will be shocking. But because she's quite beat the odds so far, because people at that kind of level of anorexia usually die within 3 to 5 years, but she's managed to hang in for a decade. But she looks worse than ever. And she's doing damage, year after year. The damage has obviously got to get worse. I don't know how she's surviving it, but I would say she's not going to be around much longer. But despicable. That mother is despicable. People giving her a break, don't give her a break. She doesn't care about her daughter. She doesn't. She cares about her daughter. Whatever her daughter, maybe she said, well, I can't control my daughter, so I might as well just enjoy it. Okay. yeah, there's no way trying to recover would be very difficult. But it's just sad as hell. Oh, wow. You worked Sarah says, I used to work as an eating disorder specialist in a psych hospital a life or two ago. It's a very, she does make good money, but I don't think the mother is after the money. I think the mother is just, she's got a special daughter. And some people there's this, sometimes, and this is true, like in certain families, you'll have the one child who's the problem child. And the parents actually want that child to be the problem child, or the mother, because it gives them something to brag about, to tell everybody about. It gives the mother attention. You got normal kids, you're like, what have your kids been doing? Now, I don't know. One is working doing this, and the other one's at college. Oh, but I got this other one. She's got serious anorexic problem. I'm trying to get her to eat. Oh, are you? What are you doing? Well, I know I made last week she would only eat a piece. She would only eat 2 crackers. I made her this really nice dinner. Oh, you poor dear, blah, blah, blah. And some people say, well, she's not spending a lot of time taking her to doctors. So, and a lot of Munchausen syndrome by proxy people love to take their children to doctors and give them symptoms that they don't have so that they get attention from the doctors. She's not doing that. Well, she's got YouTube and TikTok. She's getting everything else. Maybe she doesn't need to bother with the old doctors, It's sickening. It's absolutely sickening. So yes, I would say she exhibits Munchausen syndrome by proxy, which is a behavioral psychopathy. And that may be why Eugenia is a complete wreck. Oof. Now there's the golden child is usually the one that then you have this other thing. You've got the golden child who does things so well that all the focus is on the golden child, and then the other child just gets ignored. But then sometimes your children are just normal and you need something more spectacular, and you can't make them the golden child because they're not. So you just make them the bad child, the scapegoat. Yeah, the scapegoat. That's a good way to put it, Sarah. Maybe the mom's too controlling. It's a problem. Absolutely. I'm just not going to give that mother a break. And she comes across as fun and nice and, a little overweight, just a regular mom type. Don't fall for it. Worse is, Liberty says, Eugenia's putting herself out there and young girls see it and thinking it's good to be thin to become famous. That's why a lot of people think they have the petition out to try to shut down her channels. And I wouldn't have an issue with that myself, because I think it's horrible stuff to be putting out there. And it's funny because YouTube is so against people taking their own lives and all that kind of stuff. But this woman is taking her own life. She's killing herself day by day by day. She's actually showing that to young people every single day of her life that she does these shows. They should pull it. They should pull it off of there. I don't know how that passes community guidelines. My show sometimes doesn't come. I've had my videos pulled off because I failed to meet community guidelines, or I've been demonetized for that. But this is okay. Just super disgusting. So I thought that was just. I want to let me talk about this. This is just a crazy, horrible thing. This is horrible, and this is something we don't have in the United States, but people don't understand. They keep saying that in the United States and Europe, this is a super big thing, which it is not, but it is a bigger thing in other places. This is a South African girl who was sold by her mother. A video clip of Joshlin Smith, who was 6 years old when she went missing more than a year ago in South Africa, left most people in courtroom sobbing. It was shown during this hearing. They gave a life sentence to her mother, a drug addict who was believed to have sold her for money. Raquel Smith, also known as Kelly Smith, was convicted of kidnapping and trafficking her daughter earlier this month. The 35-year-old mother of 3 was convicted and sentenced along with her boyfriend, Jacqueline Opolis, and their friend Stefano Von Ryn, or something like that. All right. They were living in the impoverished middle post informal settlement of Saldanha Bay, that's where they lived. Afrikaans is spoken there. In their own words, Joshlin's grandmother, the family friend who wanted to adopt her, and her teacher spoke about their pain and bewilderment and how she could have been sold by her mother. One witness during the trial had alleged who was to be a traditional healer, known in South Africa as a Sangoma, wanted Joshlin for her eyes and her skin. This is a thing, unfortunately, a very bizarre, weird cultural, weird religious-y voodoo-y thing. And I'm not going to get into all that kind of, but there's a huge problem in South Africa where certain children are wanted for their body parts that will help people like live longer, be healthier or whatever, or have better sex lives, whatever those body parts are going to do for them. And there's a thing about certain colors of skin and stuff and I think she's a pretty little girl. Maybe her eyes, maybe that's something. It's just a very bizarre, freaky thing. But anyway, she was sold. And let's see what happened. She vanished. Sorry, hold on a second. Now I got Madeleine McCann in here. Get out of here. God bless it. I didn't see this. Seriously, this is so stupid. Her disappearance on the 19th of February 2024 caused shockwaves across the country. Bianca von Oswegen, a criminologist and national coordinator at missing children in South Africa, likened to the case of Madeleine McCann. Why did these people have a job? I mean, really. So Ms. Van Oswegen told BBC that while the trio's conviction in Joshlin's case have been given people a sense of relief, they practice they do not know what happened to her still. And so let's see. So their mother had been going into rehab because she had drug problems. Family friends stepped in to care for Joshlin and said she and her husband wanted to adopt her. We would have provided for her better than her mother. Let's see. They left Joshlin started school a few weeks before her disappearance, and her brother stayed home that day because they didn't have clean uniforms. They were mainly left in the care of Apollos, as Smith was in and out during the course of the day, occasionally returning to smoke. They don't know exactly when she went missing. The social worker appointed to compile the report of the trio ahead of their sentencing described Smith as a manipulative and someone who told bold-faced lies. It is therefore not a stretch to conclude that Smith is a mastermind behind trafficking her own daughter. Now, they don't know what happened to her. So the concept that I just want to point out is, when people think that kids are being kidnapped, like especially in the U.S. and Europe, but they actually think, kid walks to the store eating an ice cream cone, they get kidnapped off the street and are put in some sex trafficking ring. It's not true. Any child who's kidnapped off the street is usually gotten by a serial killer who kills them. Trafficking of children, where children are actually pulled into sexual stuff, is usually done by relatives of those kids, because the relatives of those kids have issues. There's poverty, there's drug addictions, there's prostitution. It's a freak mess. The kids have a terrible life in the sense that they're not getting proper parenting, they're not getting proper food, they're not getting proper anything. And they become a burden to the parent because they have to be cared for and they have to be fed, those little buggers, So what happens with a person who is maybe psychopathic anyway, personality disorder of some sort, and they have drug problems and other issues, crime problems, they're maybe committing crimes in and out of jails and stuff, and their friends are crappy too. They decide one day, this kid is just a pain in the butt. And somebody says, hey, I'll take her. Okay, what you going to give me? And it may not be much. They may sell that kid off for a few hundred or for some drugs. I say, go ahead, take them away. I don't care what you're doing. What happens to that kid when they're taken away? Well, they could be sexually assaulted and murdered. They could be sexually assaulted and kept someplace and sexually assaulted over and over again. Or in South Africa, where they have this weird issue about kids being sold or kidnapped for their body parts, that could be true too. But oftentimes, so in the U.S. and Europe, kids aren't usually kidnapped for their body parts, okay? But there is a weird thing in South Africa with some kind of, a version of witchcraft and very bizarre stuff. I'm not going to get into all that, but yes, sometimes certain looking kids will be kidnapped for that. So that's a cultural thing, which you have to understand. In every country, you got certain cultural issues, but don't conflate one country's cultural issues with another country. and because that's not the way it works. And so that's why I keep saying over and over again, no, Natalie Holloway wasn't sold into sex slavery, because there's too many blonde girls that are willing to go into prostitution without being kidnapped. In other places in the world, yes, women are kidnapped and put into prostitution because they're from countries where it's a severe poverty issue, there's cartels, whatever's going on, and they are just forced into it. That's true. U.S. not so much, except for runaways. Runaways and drug addicts, what they'll do is they'll run away, then somebody will take them in, pimp, and they'll say, hey, you can stay with me, but you gotta help me out here. And they will get them into prostitution. They're not so much kidnapped as lured. And so just try to understand that that's different. And in this particular case, what you've got is a child who lived in a horrible home with horrible people. And at one point, they found she was more useful out of the way than in the way, especially if they can get some money for being out of the way. Just a very, it's a seriously sad case. Yeah, it happens. Pretty horrific. No, I don't see anything about. They don't seem to know exactly what happened to her. That's the problem. So, but apparently they do believe she was sold. I'm trying to figure out. You are our flower, our baby, our green-eyed child. So that green eyes might have done her in. According to South African News, 632 children reported missing last year and 8,000 over the past 10. A growing crisis in child trafficking, but how and why is a whole other issue. But again, I'm a major hater of drugs. I absolutely am vicious against drugs. I hate drugs in the U.S. I hate drugs any place. And this child, in my opinion, none of this might have happened if there weren't a thing called drugs. And so anybody who says drugs is a victimless crime, get out of here. There's always victims in drugs, always. It's about illegal drugs. Because you can say, oh, all I'm doing is smoking weed, but that weed is grown in places where cartels exist, and people die because of that weed that they have to bring across the border. And now that it's in the U.S. legally, there's a lot of illegal growers, and there's a lot of crap going on there too. And in homes where the stuff is worse than weed, where meth is used and fentanyl and stuff, there are people who are dying all over the place, children who are dying, and the home that's being provided for those children is miserable. And to say that it's a victimless crime is I don't understand how that can even be said to be true. No one should be doing drugs, period. There's no reason, really, in real life, nobody should be doing drugs. You should be living life the way you are in your normal mind and existing and doing the best you can. And drugs shouldn't be a part of your life. And if you're a parent, damn shame on you if it is. Because your children don't deserve to have you as parents if you're doing drugs. That's my soapbox. My moment of soapboxiness. Oh, Lord. Again, I just hate drugs. Just hate drugs. Oh, wait a minute. They made videos. That's how the police found out about a wellness check. Oh, interesting. Sangoma, a witch doctor of traditional South Africa, they use body parts for muti medicine. The younger, the better. Yes, thank you very much. I've read about it before, and I just blanked on all the terminology. Thank you for that. I appreciate that. Just super, super sad. Let's see a couple more things before I wrap up. Let me see what I have here. What is that? I'm trying to figure out who. My pictures are very small again. I can never see sometimes what I'm looking at. I'm not going to do everything that I had planned to do, but I do want to mention this just because it's kind of funny. There's a new thing going on. Southwest Airlines is now changing their boarding policy to you have to have a seat number, because I've always had this thing where you get you board, and if you pay more money, you get to board. Are you calling quick enough? You get to be an A, and you get to pick out your seat, and B, not so much, and then C, you get what's left. Well, they got this problem with pre-boarding. All these people are claiming they need wheelchairs, because if you have a wheelchair, if you're in a wheelchair, they have to board you first. If you get boarded first, you get the best seats, that you can choose your best seats. So all these people are like, I need a wheelchair. So they're lining up. Some ridiculous amount of people in wheelchairs getting on Southwest so they can skip the line. So basically they're committing fraud. I want to point this out as a crime. It's fraud. If you don't need a wheelchair, you shouldn't be doing that. Now, what's funny, they say, is after they land, this always makes me laugh. After they land, there's miracles that happen. The poor souls that came seeking a flight, and they just thought they were flying someplace, but they were healed during that flight, and they were able to walk out of that plane without the wheelchairs and just walk away. So they were cured while they were on the plane. My goodness, and they're not crippled anymore or weak anymore. Their legs now work. And so they figured out these people are a bunch of liars because they need the wheelchair going on, but they don't need the wheelchair going up. So they've either been healed or they're a big fat bunch of lying frauds. So anyway, Southwest is going to be changing that because people are crooked. Oh, some days I can walk and some days I can't. Yeah, but can you walk on the plane? But not, you can't walk on the plane, but you can walk off with a 2-hour flight. Oh my goodness. Well, what's going to happen is you still can get your wheelchair, but you're going to have to get your seat ahead of time. You're going to have a numbered seat, so it's not, the wheelchair isn't going to get you to a preferred seat without having to go through the process. People are trying to skip the line. That's all they're doing. They don't want to have to wait in line, and they want to get the best seats, so they just say they need a wheelchair. But now they'll get the wheelchair, but they won't get the best seat anymore. They'll have to buy it like everybody else. And if the seat you bought is in the back of the plane, you're going to have to go to the back of the plane. So I can't walk on or off. Well, then you deserve the wheelchair. But now you're going to have to pay for the seat. Wherever your seat is going to be there. So you can't use the wheelchair as a reason to get the seat. So I think that's funny. Lex says, my guy Jono is watching, thinks you're pretty interesting, Pat. He's thinking he might become a Patreon too. Oh, that's very nice. He loves the weird Aussie bush case you did. Oh, did I? Which case was that? I'm trying to remember now. I'm glad he likes it. What case was it? Aussie bush case. Tell me what that was. Wires. Well, I guess a good portion of the population has always been a-holes. It's just they're a-holes in a different way in different times, depending on whether the community around them doesn't allow them to be a-holes or whether the community around them allows them to get away with it. And these days you can get away with being that way more than you used to. So, well, at least during my period of time, who knows? Yes, this is it. This is what people don't. This is the whole thing about victims who lie. People who lie about being victims. I would be livid. It's already bad enough that they often don't have wheelchairs. Correct. That you can move yourself in, let alone people lying about it. Yes, because all those people who are lying in order to get the best seat don't need the wheelchair. They're taking the wheelchairs away from the people who really need them, just like victims of sexual assault. You've been a real victim of sexual assault. You're not real appreciative of people who lie about sexual assault so they can make some money or they can get attention or whatever, because they make real victims of sexual assault look like a bunch of liars too. And then nobody trusts anybody. And then you get looked at like, do you really need the wheelchair? And you really do. But the other two people didn't. And now you look like a cheater too. So yeah, it's not fair. Why do I hear honking? Oh, it's Thursday. So I just heard honking and dogs. That's because the piano teacher for my granddaughter's arriving, and he does not like the dogs. So he honks outside, and then everybody has to put the dog someplace so that he doesn't have to deal with the dogs. So I'd rather ride in chicken buses of the third world. I'm a chicken bus fan myself, and but you have to not be in a wheelchair, because I don't think I've never seen anybody in a wheelchair on a chicken bus. But what somebody will do is they will simply pick up the person and carry them onto the chicken bus and then set them down. So, that's how you get on a chicken bus in the third, if the bus is a chicken bus. So, the Oakland, that is highly exaggerated, by the way. And I have to do that one day, but it's not what people think it is, but I will try to one day do that. So uh, trying to find out about that Bush case. What the heck are we talking about? Let's see. Let's see if there's anything. He's still honking. Why is he still honking? Why is nobody coming to save him? Okay. Interesting. I'm trying to see if there's anything else I want to talk about. I might have to go rescue that guy myself. I think I covered most of. There's a couple more things I probably do want to cover, but I think I'm just going to leave them for. Oh, I was going to do the. Maybe I'll save that for next week. I'm going to save it for next week. I was going to talk about the Danish nurse and the Dutch nurse because we're talking about Lucy Letby and these other two that were supposedly not guilty, and also this other guy, William Hustle, who is also supposedly possibly involved in that kind of thing. Oh, somebody is here. Hold on a second. Okay. Okay. So, but I'm thinking I might want to save it. I do love the piano teacher. He's from Nigeria. He is an absolutely amazing jazz pianist and a very nice, very soft-spoken young man. And the last piano teacher sucked, and my granddaughter didn't learn anything, and he's just amazing. So she's really learning a lot from him, and I really, really appreciate a great teacher, and he is that one. So, oh my God, I'm blushing. No, that's just I'm always red because I can't see after they changed the filter, they changed the software on the lights. And ever since they've done that, everybody keeps saying how red I look. I can't get the red out. I don't know what the hell they did to the software change because it was really good. And then they changed something and I just can't make it work. So I worry about someone who does. No, they're big dogs and he's scared of them. And he's got a right to be. You know what I mean? He doesn't mind the little dog. The little dog runs around, a little fluffy thing. But the big dogs, and the German Shepherd, she's kind of a whack job. So she will circle you and smash her face into you, and it feels like she's going to bite you. So she's kind of scary. Now the Cane Corso is now huge, but he's just so lovable. But if it's not your dog, you just may not be too comfy with that. So some people have dog phobias because you don't. It's not your dog. It's not my dog. That's the old it was the Pink Panther joke where Peter Sellers comes in and he's standing there. This guy comes in, sees his dog, and he says, "Does your dog bite? Does your dog bite?" Oh no, he says, yeah, and he says, what does he say? Oh, he says, no, I guess it's Peter Sellers that I said, "Does your dog bite?" And the guy says, "No." And then he reaches down to pet it and it bites him, and he goes, "I thought you said your dog doesn't bite." And the guy says, "It's not my dog," So, but I've been attacked by dogs more than once. People said the dogs, these are nice dogs, and then they attack me. I've had it happen at a park. I had it happen at somebody's house. I knocked on the door. I was attacked as a child by two dogs that dragged me around along the ground. So I've had dogs attack me. And cats too, actually. That's why I have a scar on my face, because cat work. Stupid. Why do I keep messing with cats? But I understand why people are frightened, and they have a good reason to be. And just because you think your doggy's nice doesn't mean that other person knows that or trusts that dog. So hence a lizard person. Yeah, I like a lizard, but a lizard will bite too. I mean, they can just iguanas, those big 5-foot iguanas, they can do some major damage. So yeah. Johnny's little dog got mauled by a bull terrier. Had to be put down. Yeah, I mean, dogs will also kill other dogs, and that's just that does happen because territorialism and stuff like that. So it's dogs are like, I don't know. Everybody wants to think of every dog is gentle and sweet and wonderful, but they're just like humans. Some of them are not so great, and maybe it's because they've had abuse. Maybe it's because the personality of that particular dog breed, or the territorialism. They might be great for the family, but somebody comes up that they don't know. or an animal comes up they don't know, and they'll protect. So they do what they do. I mean, you have to respect animals, just like you have to respect wild animals, knowing that an animal that's wild, there's certain things you don't do around wild animals if you don't want to get eaten, because they're still wild. And my feral cat is, I mean, I have some moments where I'm like, don't bite me. Because I could, it concerns me if they, well, I could have rabies, you know what I mean? And because it's a wild cat. I mean, it's a feral cat. It doesn't have any shots. So it's out there. And there was just a raccoon right down around the street, and they did pick up that raccoon, and it was rabbit. And we have raccoons around here all the time. And I've had raccoons in my house because I used to feed raccoons in my house. They came in the cat door and they just jump on the cat table and eat the food. And I liked them. I didn't pet them, but I liked them. So I'm a little strange. Yeah. So you had a vicious Chihuahua. And sometimes we do rescues, some of those rescues, people have to be very careful to rescue animals, because I've seen people take in rescue animals around their young children, and it can be very dangerous. And you might think that rescue animal is it's going to be okay, but sometimes they're really whacked out, and they will hurt your children. They will sometimes kill your children. So you gotta be just rational. Oh yeah. Well, most of the people, I think most of the time you're not allowed to have raccoons as pets here either, but they can be a good pet. I mean, but they're still raccoons. And so the ones that came into my house through the cat door were obviously wild raccoons. So there's a family, there were like 5 of them. And they come in and fall asleep. And one of them fell asleep in the dish drainer one day. And one of them came upstairs up to the second floor. I went, no, you can't come up to the second floor. And then he turned around and left. And it's fall asleep on top of the dryer because it was nice and warm and, shook. So, but I love animals. So I'm a little insane. So I think things are cute that other people go, so anyway, I'm going to do those other things next week because because I don't want to get started, and it's getting almost 5 o'clock, so I don't want to start a whole thing on that. But I'm going to talk about these other 3 cases of hospital issues. I'll do that on my next hangout, which will be it'll be a 7 o'clock hangout. So sorry guys in Europe, and it'll be about two European cases, and you'll be asleep. So anyway, I probably will do the weekend show on Saturday or Monday, because I'm going, unless I do it in the evening on Sunday, because I'm going to see the new Lilo and Stitch movie with my granddaughter and her little friends. It's a birthday thing. And I love Lilo and Stitch, but I don't know that the live action one it looks a little obnoxious and loud to me. But because I love Lilo and Stitch, my daughter's invited me along for the get together. So I won't probably doing it on Sunday, Saturday or Monday, depending on how much energy I have to get things done. And again, if you're new to the channel, please do like and subscribe, and join Patreon below if you want to be in the chat room, which I forgot to mention. So anyway, thank you, Christoph. I appreciate that. I'm glad you're all here. It always is nice, So anyway, I will see you all soon on the weekend or on Monday. And until then, have a bunch of good days. Bye.